Welcome all. In this video, we will learn about the concepts of lattice, motif, unit cell, and crystal. Before discussing the periodic patterns of atomic arrangements in crystals, we need to first understand the periodic arrangement of points in space known as space lattice. A space lattice provides a framework to describe the crystal structure of a material. So, a space lattice is defined as an infinite array of points in 3 dimensions, where every point has surroundings identical to those of every other point in the array. For ease of representation on paper, let's consider a 2-dimensional square array of points. By repeatedly translating the 2 vectors A and B on the plane of the paper, we can generate the square array. The magnitudes of A and B are equal to unity. The angle between them is 90 degrees. A and B are called fundamental translation vectors that generate the square array. To ignore end effects near the boundary, we assume that the array extends infinitely, but here we are looking in a finite area. If we locate ourselves at any point in the array and look in a particular direction within the plane, the surroundings appear the same, regardless of where we are. Consider the immediate surroundings of a point in the array. If we look towards top or towards right from this point, we see another point at a distance of 1 unit. Along a direction of 45 degrees, the nearest point is at a distance of under root 2 units. Since this is true for every point in the array satisfies the definition of a 2-dimensional square lattice. A 3-dimensional space lattice is generated by the repeated translation of 3 non-coplanar vectors, A, B, and C. A space lattice can also be defined by referring to a unit cell. The unit cell is the smallest repeating unit that, when repeated indefinitely in space, generates the space lattice. In the square lattice example, the unit cell is the square formed by joining 4 neighboring lattice points. Since each corner of the square is shared by 4 unit cells meeting at that corner, the effective number of lattice points per unit cell is only 1. Alternatively, the unit cell can be visualized with 1 lattice point at the center of the square and none at the corners. A unit cell having lattice points only at corners is primitive unit cell, whereas one having lattice points at corners as well as at center is non-primitive unit cell. Lattice is the periodic arrangement of points either in space or in a plane or in a line, where all points have the same surroundings. It represents how repetition occurs in space. Motif or basis refers to an atom or group of atoms associated with each lattice point, representing what is being repeated in space. Crystal is the 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms in space. To summarize, a lattice refers to the periodic arrangement of points, while a crystal refers to the periodic arrangement of atoms. The lattice represents the underlying periodicity, whereas the crystal gives information about the periodicity of repeated atoms in space. The lattice is a geometric concept having geometric properties, while the crystal is a physical object with properties such as weight, density, and electrical conductivity. A unit cell in a 3-dimensional crystal structure is also shown here to give an overview that how a unit cell looks like in a 3-dimensional crystal. Yet another way to differentiate between a lattice and a crystal is through symmetry. Symmetry is an advanced concept which will require separate videos to get a hold over it. But here I shall briefly introduce it with respect to lattice. A lattice is a translationally periodic arrangement of points, whereas a crystal is a translationally periodic arrangement of atoms. As can be seen in the figure representing a 2-dimensional arrangement of red atoms, if we translate whole atoms of the lattice to the right by a distance equal to the intratomic spacing shown by black arrow, the arrangement remains unchanged and will have similar surroundings as it was before. This demonstrates translational symmetry of a lattice, which is also known as the defining symmetry of a lattice. This was all about the lattice, crystal, and its periodicity. Thanks for staying till the end of the video.